she needed to see me go fast, you know? So like most, little boys, I'm hit with this, shot of adrenaline. Or maybe not! I start to pedal really hard. I miss the pedal again. I guess maybe I need to get,
You weren't very good at riding bikes.
Clearly not. Are you ready, big dog?
I'm ready.
Did I even tell you what we're
ready.
doing?
No.
Welcome to Kansas QB, a podcast about growing up in rural Kansas, hosted by two former high school quarterbacks. And now, here are your manly hosts, Steve Juhl and Tyler Martin.
Yeehaw!
Ride 'em, cowboy.
Growing up in the cornfields of the Sunflower State, we were inseparable. Brothers from different mothers who also happened to be sisters. Our moms, not us. Decades later, he's in Iowa and I'm in Missouri. But we'll always have Kansas, and we'll always be the QB. Howdy, folks, and welcome to the show. I'm Steve. He's Tyler, and today's episode is entitled Rough Play. Rough play. Hey, Tyler, did you hear the big news? Midway won another state championship!
Yay! And you are mostly correct. It's now not Midway. It is Doniphan West.
When
However,
that change? Okay.
Oh, right, yeah. No, but they just, on Saturday, won the girls' state basketball tournament and brought home, I don't know if it's I talked to Coach Smith and to congratulate him, and I thought it was the first championship from the school. He reminded me that they've won a couple cross-country championships, but this was the first basketball championship. So either way, very impressive with what those young ladies accomplished. And it's a small town, it's still a small school in rural Kansas, and seeing some of the names and knowing some of the parents of the girls on that team, it's I shouldn't say even cooler, but it's fun to see that it's come full circle and still having a lot of success with some Midway names now at Doniphan West.
Yeah, so, I mean, you're probably more aware than I am, but I just know because I'm friends with Michelle Walsh, formerly Michelle Walsh, on Facebook. And so she posts things about the team. And with volleyball, Stephanie Jones would make posts. And so those are two that I'm friends with. So I would kind of keep up on Doniphan West, the ladies, and how they're doing through them. Also, didn't Coach Johnson, David Johnson, didn't he have some kids on there? Because David Johnson will forever be remembered in Juhl lore because, and you might remember this tape, we have a kid's tape when I'm like 3 and Kevin's 4, or I'm 2 and he's 3. And Dad tries to introduce us. He's got the video camera on us. He says, "Now, starting for the Kansas Jayhawks, Steve Juhl." And I said, "David Johnson!" It's a class. I was like, "No, I'm David Johnson," because, Dave Johnson, Todd Cottle, those were the guys that we would watch play at in the gym, and so that's who we wanted to be. And so now, our former childhood hero, his kids winning a state championship. Pretty cool.
Absolutely. And David Johnson would be one of the all-time great Kansas QBs if he wouldn't have been in the same class at the same school as Todd Cottle. He was a very talented halfback, but could have easily been an all-state quarterback as well. But he's multi-talented in lots of sports. And he's also been very successful as a basketball coach, and always looked up to him. But yeah, now his I think it's his oldest daughter was the senior, and it's kind of I think she went off for 20 some points in the championship game. He's got a younger daughter on the team. So I think that Doniphan West Lady Mustang basketball group's going to be good for a few years. They've got a nice little run coming.
Well, and they were the 5th seed, weren't they? So they were not.
Yeah, they knocked
to win
off. No, they knocked off 1 and 2, I believe, on the way to get to the championship game. Something along those lines. I was able to listen to part of the championship game. Maddie had a volleyball tournament this weekend or on Saturday, so we were up there, kind of tuning back and forth, trying to watch her game, trying to listen in. But no, it's always exciting when people back home do really good stuff, and I would definitely classify state championship as really good stuff.
That's really great stuff. And so while you were listening to that, go ahead. Do you have something else to add to that?
No. Continue.
While that was happening, while our old friends at Midway / Doniphan West, Highland, welcome Highland, welcome. We love you too, Highland. You're great, Highland. When that was all happening, I was actually in Springfield, Missouri, enjoying a kind of a remembrance or a celebration at the Missouri State high school championships. They're celebrating Bethany's, my wife's, near win of a state championship from her senior year. They got, I think, third that year. And so they're honoring some past schools that had runs, and Bethany she was this close to winning a state championship herself. So that was kind of cool. And then at the same time, an hour away in Joplin, Missouri, the Manhattan Christian College, my college team, was playing for a national championship against Kansas Christian. So very interesting that it's a national conference, and there's teams from Florida to California that are in the NCAA Division II. And out of all of that, the championship came down to a team from Manhattan, Kansas, and I think Overland Park is where Kansas Christian is from. So, like, here we are just just really close to one another, and they went to Joplin to play in a championship game. And the championship's been held at that level from all over the country at different times. Bethany always had to go to Florida to play in it. But anyway, a lot of cool stuff happened at the same time. Now, MCC lost, Bethany's team lost, at least Doniphan West won. So,
yeah.
That was cool.
We'll work on that. I mean, we'll work on the other ones, but we'll take the Doniphan West victory anytime we get it.
Absolutely, 100%, absolutely, fantastic. Also, Tyler, and I accidentally cut this part out here because that's just what I do as I cut things out. I stole your line, but you wanted to ask me about the 4Runner, so go ahead, Tyler. I'll let you.
I did. So what's the update on the 4Runner situation?
There is no update, Tyler. Complete radio silence from the SJPD. I am coming to grips with the fact that we will never see Tank again. If we do, it'll be a pleasant surprise. And I've told some people that even if I just, pull him into the driveway and he doesn't run and I get to spend, my spare time tinkering with him, trying to get him running again, that'd be a fun project that maybe Jackson could help me with. Maybe the girls, JC might want to do it. But yeah, I think she's gone. So actually, Tyler, today I am going to meet with somebody about another vehicle potential that we can possibly get to replace Tank. It'll look a lot nicer on the inside if we did buy it because it's kind of a fancy inside vehicle, but it would not be as valuable or as good a vehicle as dear old Tank. So I'm a little bummed, Tyler. A little bummed.
Well, sorry I brought it up.
No, that's all right, buddy. I forgive you. Tyler, we're ready to go to Broken News. And it's brought to you today by our friend Matt, Mike Hubble, Carmen of Midway, my man Jonah, Mark and Nancy, you've heard of them, Darren Football, and Car Guy Dave. Car Guy Dave usually goes with me to look at vehicles. He cannot go today, so he's got to take his kids different places. So I've got the backup. I called him my backup Nick, not the Nick from our thievery episode, but another Nick that knows a lot about cars. So he might go with me. I might go by myself. I don't know. We'll find that out here in a little bit, but Car Guy Dave and the rest. Thank you for supporting the show. If you would like to be a friend of the show, head on over to patreon.com/KansasQB. And of course, we would love for you to subscribe to the Juhl Media LLC YouTube channel, as well as download the show in your favorite podcasting platform. And Tyler, we would love to go to Broken News right now, but we will not be doing that because we would rather experience our favorite 60 seconds of the week.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for 60 Seconds with Sheridan.
60 Seconds with Sheridan.
Sheridan, it is lovely to see you. And I'm going to unmute you right now before I forget to later. There's so many buttons here. I got to kind of click around. Oh, there she is. Sheridan, it's lovely to see you. And Sheridan, your 60 seconds start now.
One day, I was riding on my bike while my dad was talking to my neighbor, Brian. I was happily riding along until I heard a big bang. I quickly hopped off my bike and pushed it over to my dad. They thought it was a gunshot. "Was that your bike's tire?" joked Brian. He and my dad laughed. I thought they were serious, so I checked. My dad said, "We were just kidding," but I saw it. We had to order a new tire because there was a huge hole in it. I was so upset. The next day, my dad let me ride Holly's bike while she and Joey rode in our frozen Jeep. Once they came back, we would switch. I quickly did a lap, so my dad said I could do another. I was so excited. I was going to do my second lap quickly so I could make it 3. I zoomed around until I turned. My turn was too sharp, so I fell off. I hit my mouth and skinned my knees and my chin. My dad had to carry me inside.
Oh, Sheridan, this is a graphic and sad 60 seconds with Sheridan. Could it be, Sheridan, that you knew that today was entitled Rough Play, and it's all about injuries to you as a child playing in a childhood situation? So in this situation, Sheridan, you fell off a bike, basically. Which you know how, Tyler, would you agree? Sheridan knows how to build drama when she tells a story.
She does. That was a very good, you painted a very good picture with those.
I was gripped. Yeah. I don't know if you were gripped. Sheridan, so you fell off your bike and it hurt.
Yeah, it hurt really bad. I had a scar for a really long time. It may still be there, but if it is, it's really, really light, and you would have to look really close at it.
Get us in there. Come on. Some of these people are watching on YouTube, so go ahead, kind of zoom in there. Was it on your chin? Yeah, get a little closer. Come on, bring it in, Sheridan.
No, like, it was on my knee.
Oh, okay. Well,
that was on my knee.
Okay, yeah.
But,
so is that the worst you've been hurt while playing, Share Bear?
Probably, yeah. It hurt my mouth and on my chin, and I ripped a hole in my pink pants.
Oh, the pink pants! That's the worst!
Broken news.
As we like to say, if it ain't broken, it ain't news. Breaking news is for tryhards, and we no longer have the stamina for that kind of effort, so we take stories that have been broken already, and we share them with the folks at home as we say goodbye to Share Bear. See, we do that, Tyler. The way we do that with the broken news, it's kind of make it kind of more of a seamless transition, but it's kind of like we just say, see ya, Sheridan, without even saying bye. But always love Sheridan having her on. Yeah. So she's still hanging out. I can still see her over here on my little thing. Hey, Sheridan. Hi. See you later. Good job. Have you heard about this, Tyler? According to the website, nationwidechildrens.org, the second leading cause of ER visits by children is organized youth sports.
I wouldn't know that I would have guessed that, but it's not surprising with all of these days. I don't know if it would have been necessarily back when we were growing up, but now I can definitely see it. That's a lot of our kids' free time is spent playing some type of organized youth activity.
Yes, and that was one of the things that the article mentioned, is that the proliferation of youth sports and organized youth teams and school teams, travel teams, obviously youth sports and the travel game and select youth, like the making money side of that, it's blown up since we were kids. Yep. Like it started when we were kids. Like that's kind of when it started to blow up, is right after we were like 5th and 6th and 7th grade. And now it's this big industry. And so obviously with more opportunity comes more opportunity for injury. So I think that has something to do with it for sure.
Yeah. I would say reading through some of the risk factors that, as they say, predispose these athletes, more overuse than anything else, just because they're specializing in stuff at a certain age and playing just basketball or just softball or just for 6 months at a time. But yeah, I can definitely see, as you're still growing and these joints haven't quite all the way, gotten to where they need to be, the range of motion, strength in joints, like it can really cause imbalance, which, trust me, I'm going through it right now. You have a knee that's messed up. Well, now my hip on the other side's not good, and that leads to some back pain and some spine. So the imbalance at a young age is only going to get worse as they get older.
Right. So again, do kids get hurt from like bonking their heads and turning ankles over? Yeah, sure. But this article seemed to think that maybe, as you mentioned, overuse might be and also a big contributing factor. So here's some things from the list that you kind of referenced there, Tyler, and let's briefly talk about them. The first one on the list is sports specialization at a young age. And like you said, the same repetitive movements over and over again, because you're doing the movements that are unique to one particular sport. With my kids, Tyler, we are not into sports specialization, and we're blessed that we are at a small school, like you and I were growing up, where it's a given that if we want to play on the team, if my son wants to play basketball, he's going to make the team. We've had 3 cuts, I think, in the history of this school where we had so many kids we had to cut. One was this year, unfortunately, but he's going to be one of the better ones in his class. He's going to make the team, right? Even if he's not the star. He's going to be able to play baseball if he wants. He's going to be able to run track if he wants. He's going to be able to do football. Like, that's not an issue, right? So there's really no pressure at a small school to specialize. Your kid's going to a bigger school, Tyler. Do you feel any pressure to have your kids specialize?
Well, it's funny. That was kind of one of the reasons that we moved from a large district, one of the larger districts in the state, out to a smaller 2A district where for opportunities, one, to play and have the opportunity to play multiple sports and be involved with multiple sports, and two, to be involved with band and choir and quiz bowl and drama and anything that they would like to do. They wouldn't have to just, hey, you can pick 2 things and that's it. However, I will say, as being closer to a metro area and seeing even now, it's a trickle down effect even into smaller schools. Hey, if you're going to be a stud basketball player, you're going to have to spend a lot of time playing basketball in the summer. And up here, that's softball, baseball season. That's a season of the sport, which we've talked about. Likewise, they're playing basketball through the fall. And then if you're going to play volleyball, well, now you're pressured. You have the volleyball season, but then you have the entire club circuit that runs all the way through into basically softball and beyond. And softball just never seems to really stop. So, yeah, there is some, I guess, if you want to call it pressure, I think right now Maddie's starting to see that, hey, if I'm going to be at a small school, I can be on the team like we talked. I can be a good player on a team. But if I don't start specializing, it's going to start to get hard to decide which one that I truly want to focus on, if that's what we want to do, or she wants to pick one that she wants to try to do in college.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. And obviously our preference would be, play everything, enjoy everything. And that's what we got to do going to small school. And that's what Jack will get to do here at St. Joe Christian. But you're right. A good example would be my daughter, JC, who is getting ready to start softball season. So in Missouri, softball happens at the same time as track. So it's a spring sport. Well, if you want to play volleyball, there in this area for her age group, there's 2 leagues. There's timing of 2 leagues. One's in spring at the same time as softball, or in 2, it's like cutting into basketball season. I wasn't a big fan of last year cutting into basketball season because basketball's kind of my thing, but I was like, okay, yeah, if they're doing volleyball, let's do that. And then that's fine. We'll give them time, and then we'll jump into basketball. It'll be fine. And like 2 weeks of overlap. Well, JC's playing, in the spring season now because mom's a volleyball coach. But she's also playing softball. And then on top of that, then you've got one of my assistant coach says, hey, we got this tournament down here in East Buchanan. I think it'd be great or a league. It'd be great for the girls to get in this summer. I'm like, I would love that. But she's already playing 2 different sports, and we got 2 other kids that are playing, and there's just no way. And at some point, you got to say, no, can't do it. So would our team, which our team was pretty good at the end of the year, would they be better if we played in that basketball league? They would improve, and they'd be even better this next year. But you got to let them play different sports, I think. And part of it is right here, sports specialization at their young age. And Maddie's a little older, but, it could be, detrimental to their health. So they're getting a lot of different movements with volleyball and softball than what they would get just with basketball. A couple of ones here, Tyler, and this one hit home. We'll skip ahead because we've already talked a little ways on this. Improper footwear. Jackson's he's a good little runner. And I'm more than willing to run with him. And a couple years ago, we were training for all these different things. He ran 5K, ran it pretty fast, got 4th in a local deal against all runners, not just kids his age. And, it was a smaller event, so that explains part of it. But we were training, and he had knee issues. Here he is a second grader at the time, and he's having knee issues because he had bad shoes. And I didn't realize this until later, but he had taken the insoles out of his shoes that he was using as running shoes because they didn't fit right. And so he'd taken them out because they were, whatever reason. So we got him new shoes, and the problem kind of persisted. But it's like, okay, if we're going to start running again, which we didn't this last year for different reasons, but if he got back into running and we're going to train him for a 5K, I would go buy him the most expensive pair of Brooks that they make for kids or whatever. I'd find an expensive running shoe because, like I said, improper footwear, that's one of the main things, because we as adults he weighs 50 pounds. Does he really need a fancy pair of shoes? Who's got money for that? But you can't skip on it. It's in the article. Tyler.
Yeah, I remember when we were growing up, the whole basis of your shoes was, okay, I need to get a good enough pair of basketball shoes, but also that looks okay enough, because when basketball's over, those become my everyday shoes. And then I need some shoes that I can run fast enough in, but that are going to last me long enough. I don't know that we ever, and we can kind of be guilty of that, I don't know that we ever actually fit correctly into a pair of shoes until they were almost ready to be worn out.
Yeah, well, it's funny because my dad always had the thumb rule, right? Where you'd take the thumb and you'd push it down between the toe and the shoe. And if you could push your thumb all the way down, as long as it wasn't any longer than that, it's fine. It's fine. And I had Jackson tried on a pair of shoes the other day. And I was like, those are way too big. And I did the little thumb test that Dad used to do with us. I'm like, I think they're still too big. We need to get you something. Will they only last a season? Yeah, but I just can't. I can't do it with the thumb. No. It's too much room. It's too much room. It's not.
Yeah.
No. That's a tough one. Well, the next one is growth cartilage. Is less resistant to repetitive micro trauma. Because I always think with these kids, when we do repetitive motions with them, I always think, well, they're young. Like, they don't have all the problems we have. They're more pliable. So they're going to be fine. And I'm not doing heavy weights with them ever or anything like that. Like, well, just, repetitive motions, they're going to be fine. But this points out that cartilage, when it's young, is less resistant to repetitive micro trauma. And then finally, intense repetitive training during periods of growth could cause injuries. So that's a good reminder for me as a coach. Not to push these guys too hard when they're, they haven't hit puberty yet. So.
Well, yeah, and I think it still goes back to a lot of those things, the imbalance, the anatomic misalignment, the growth cartilage to intense repetitive training. I think a lot of that just goes back to that sports specialization where you're practicing the same types of movements over and over and over instead of switching from one type of cutting to another type of linear to one that goes side to side to using both arms to using this. I still advocate play more sports, do lots of different activities, and get rid of this just repetitive training nonsense.
So you're telling me that my kid practicing baseball 2 times a week is not going to cause that big of an issue?
No, you're good.
The things we remember.
We're getting older. We've forgotten more than we ever knew, but some memories still cling to our brain parts. Like the sprocket of my bicycle to my calf muscle when I slipped off a pedal when pedaling up the last hill to Tyler's yellow house. This list includes memories from our time growing up in Kansas. Let's see just how well we can remember. In the Broken News segment, we learned that kids get hurt playing sports more than we might expect. Tyler, we did not need organized athletics to get hurt. Are there some memorable injuries we sustained while playing in or out of doors in our days of youth? We've already mentioned several on the show that I'll talk about here in just a moment. But are anyone's really sticking out in your mind, Tyler?
For as crazy as I was at times, and for as, just call it reckless, didn't really care if I had the potential to get hurt or not, somehow I dodged a lot of bad injuries from just playing. I have a lot of sports injuries. I have nicks and a few bumps and bruises, but I really, from playing when we were out, like, I never broke my arm like you did. I never threw a dart at myself, or if I did get punctured, I didn't tell anybody about it. I would say the biggest injury to me growing up was not from playing, but you remember when I was 3, I was racing, and this was
the backwards
this
7.
was the time. Yeah. This is when they found out that I needed glasses. I was racing my dad across the parking lot.
Which we can call that play. That counts. Continue.
We can call that play, or poor parenting. I don't know.
It's probably poor parenting. Let's be honest.
Yeah. And there was an old half-price store in St. Joe, and I thought I was just going to put my hand on the door, push it open, and run through. However, I didn't hit the door. I hit beside the door. So I hit the front, like the big giant glass window on the front, hand first, and then my face is what shattered the front of the building and wound up with a really nice stitch set in between my eyes, down my nose, which it's actually pretty close to being very, very dangerous. But yeah, I had stitches for that. That was really the biggest one that was non-sports related.
Yeah.
Growing up.
Well, and I remember that when it happened. I mean, I wasn't there, but I remember seeing the stitches, and for a long time, you had this backwards 7 on your nose, and that was just part of your face. And also, the best thing about that experience for me was it led to the most wonderful set of glasses that you ever saw. Tyler went from looking sporty to nerdy real fast, ladies and gentlemen. All you have to do is watch the YouTube video, watch the lead up. Did I put anything in there with your glasses? Is there anything in that intro?
I don't know if they're.
Well, there's a great shot in 2nd grade where you and I have our arms around each other, and you're pointing to me and you're saying something about me. And I have it in my wedding video, like my wedding reception video montage that I did for my wedding. Yeah. And so I have access to it. I see it every now and then whenever we pull that out. And you've got like this crazy cowlick going on like this.
Yeah.
You got these big old guys. And it's the closest that you've ever been to chubby. And you know what I'm talking about? Oh, it's legendary. You look great. You look great, buddy. So yeah, you need glasses. That. Well, yeah, you mentioned the broken arm, Tyler. You mentioned the broken arm. So in our very first episode, we told the story, or you told the story of the time we were riding horses, and I fell off and broke my arm, and so sad. Missed out on the end of our, I think, first grade season or kindergarten. Was kindergarten going to first grade? Which I'm trying to imagine my daughter Jayla riding a horse and like no one supervising her, and I can't imagine that I would ever let her do that. She'd probably be great. The other kids probably would just have fallen off at that age. I don't know. But anyway, well done, Marks of Midway. But yeah, broke my arm. We mentioned the dart finger. You hit me with a dart. And these don't have to be spectacular times. They just have to be memorable, because I think we all have this memory, and especially those of us who played outdoors. You have your bumps, your bruises, your scrapes, and whatnot, but they have significance when they have something else attached to them that make them a fun memory. So I've got a couple here, and if you think of another one, feel free to jump in.
Yeah.
But I referenced in that little lead up there the sprocket to the leg, and I will never forget this, because here I am riding my bike over to your house, and I remember at the time not knowing if you guys were home. Just every now and then as we got a little bit older, I mean, you're going to the countryside, like you're not going out to the highway. You're on the countryside of Bendina, and you can go out that way on the dirt roads. And mom and dad were like, "Oh, he'll be fine. He's just gonna be on dirt roads, back roads. No farmer's gonna nap him. He'll be fine." And so we drive around that back way to your house. I'm going up that hill. It's a pretty big hill up to that yellow house. At least it seemed that way. Probably if I went back now, I would think it wasn't so big. But I was almost to the top, and I left my bike in a gear that it shouldn't have been in, because we didn't have that many gears to change from those fancy bikes we had back then. And I just, we've all done it. Just my foot slipped off the peg of the bike, and I happened to be on the side that the sprocket was on, and it got all up in there, and it hurt like the dickens. And I pushed the bike up the rest of the way. I was a little bit older, so I wasn't just like screaming and crying like on the road waiting to be rescued. I did at least come up the road, and your dad took me into your bathroom, and Uncle Mark cleaned me up and stuff. I just remember where the sprocket went in, like it turning white around the area, and it was just bleeding profusely. To this day, Tyler, here I am, 30 years later almost. I could, if I had enough sun, I could show you the scars are still there from that sprocket. Yeah. So that was pretty epic, because I never actually had a sprocket. Like, it went into my leg. Like, it had 5 individual sprocket marks, and the deepest ones were in there pretty good. We just wrapped it up. It was fine.
Yeah, I remember coming down the hill from Vernon's house. We were riding bikes, and we were younger. Our moms were out for a walk, and the 4 of us were coming down. The road had just been graded, which on that road back then just meant that they took off the entire top and pushed it over to the side. So it was very loose to one side and very fast down the compacted tracks. And it was very recently after I had taken the sprocket guard off of my bike, because it rattled so bad, and it was really heavy. You remember that kind of white bike that I had? Kind of looked like a BMX bike, but it didn't have all the cool stuff. Anyways, I had just taken the sprocket guard off. I was tearing down the hill, believe it or not, trying to beat everybody home. And mom was screaming, "Hey, slow down. It's really soft on the side." And I got under the soft stuff, and crashed hard. And the same thing, I had ripped a really nice gash, and of course, Nancy took care of it, but I remember her being very upset that I was not listening and I got hurt doing it. Which, what are you going to do? Not go fast down a big hill?
Gotta go fast. Next one, Tyler. Your trampoline. Bethany wanted or had talked about maybe getting a trampoline, and we kind of went back and forth, and it's like, yeah, we don't have a big enough yard for that. But you always had one. And I can't count the number of times that I either like bounced high up in the air, I'm sure you did too, and you come down like in the springs, or you have to like bail out and just like, kind of like flop onto the ground, or whatever. I will never forget the time that we were playing Crack the Egg. I don't know if you remember this. And so the plate cracked the egg. Everybody gets in the egg position, holds onto their knees, and somebody is trying to bounce them. And you get to be bounced off the trampoline. Like that's a very real thing. And we got our fingers pinched by the springs. I'll never forget this one time, though. I was in the egg position, and whoever was trying to crack me, I just remember going up in the air. I think it was Becky. I remember going up in the air. Becky. Going up in the air and losing my hold on my knees and kind of flailing my arms and then kind of falling forward, and then my legs hitting the tramp and my knee hitting me in the nose and just bleeding everywhere. I thought my nose was broken. It's one of the most painful experiences I've ever had. Tyler, did you have any injuries with the trampoline? 'Cause surely at some point you got hurt on the trampoline. Those things are death traps.
I sprained my wrist several times on the trampoline trying to do flips and all that type of here to there. I don't know that I know I never broke anything. And outside of spraining my wrist, maybe hyperextending my knee a few times here and there, I somehow kind of came out of the trampoline unscathed. But I was on it all the time. I was fairly competent on a trampoline. And now we have one at our house. It was one thing that my wife had never had one growing up, and she always wanted one. So we got one for the kids when we moved out here. And the wind blew it around a couple times, and we're on the second or third one. Just kind of how the wind blows in between our house and our shed. It's like a wind tunnel. Doesn't matter if it's down or whatever. Anyways, we're on to the next one. This time, though, we have not put the sides back up just because that really catches the wind. So we're back to what we used to be.
Back to the good old days. Just the trampoline, no sides.
No sides.
Yeah.
Get on and go.
Any injuries from that for your kids?
Nothing major yet. Nothing broken.
Yeah, see, it can be done. It can be done.
I do remember the next injury, and we could talk about this on an episode with friend Matt. At his house, we were down there. Wasn't it you and me? Was it this? No, it wasn't the same episode as that picture. Maybe it was the picture that we showed that was so bad with the jean shorts and the A shirts. I was going to get onto the jet ski. It had recently been ridden, and the lift was still wet, and I didn't really notice this. So as I stepped onto it, I was talking to somebody else, and my foot slipped. I reached up to grab my hand, got caught in the angle iron underneath the dock, and it really almost took my finger off, but it really laid open the skin really, really bad. I don't know, was it with you guys or was it with Tyson? I can't remember.
Keep going.
Anyways, we went from their house, I think, to the hospital in Lori, and Matt's talked about this, and I believe that they tried to put me up. I think Bill tried to say that I was their kid so they could put it on their insurance and not have to answer too many questions. And that didn't quite fly, but they did take care of it, and they said just don't do anything for the rest. Well, we had to go skiing and tubing, so Liz doctored it up, and again, she fainted when she saw Matt bleed a drop, but I'm bleeding, and she was fine, took care of it. So that was a bad one. That was a really bad injury. Yeah.
She clearly didn't care as much about you as Matt, which that's fitting. That's fitting. I mean, it's her kid. Last one, Tyler, and then we'll move on from here. We'll let the fine folks go, but the last one. This one's particularly embarrassing. Again, another bicycle. I was just riding around Bendina. It was a lazy summer day. It was an evening. I don't know what Kevin was doing, but I just gone for a bike ride. Bendina was shut down. It was after 5, right? And so there's no traffic. And so I'm just kind of just talking to myself, imagining things, doing things little kids do. Riding my bicycle, and I was coming up just past the insurance agency. Going towards the old Midway Products where my dad had his shop, and with the post office out ahead, and then Wylands all the way down the block. And I look back. Do you remember Heather Smith?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
She was like the popular girl in high school when we were in elementary. So I turn around, and there's one car in Bendina at that time. It's Heather Smith. How did I know that it was Heather Smith? I don't know. It's not like I was a little tiny stalker person or anything. I guess I'd seen her before in that vehicle. I just remember this specifically because I was so embarrassed afterwards. There comes Heather Smith. And I remember I was playing this game where I pedaled as fast and hard as I could, and then I would just coast and see how far I could make it. And so I had just done that, and I was going for my second and third attempt, trying to beat my record, and and I was at the end, I was kind of like barely moving at all, I was kind of trying to balance, and I was doing my narration in my head, like I always did as a kid. And he's going for the gold, and he's got a long one this time, folks. Just because that's what I would do. I'd narrate my entire life in my head. And I remember looking back and seeing Heather Smith and be like, he's out. And I had just said, and he's out of steam. He's not going to make it. And then I remember saying, but maybe not. And then I was like, it wouldn't do, Tyler, for the popular high school girl to see me, there, not moving or at all. That would be embarrassing. She needed to see me go fast, So like most, little boys, I'm hit with this, shot of adrenaline. Or maybe not. I start to pedal really hard. I miss the pedal again. I guess maybe I need to get,
You weren't very good at riding bikes.
Clearly not. I discovered foot pedals or strap for your pedals later and shoes when I started doing the triathlon stuff. I slipped off. I fell on the ground and I scraped up my entire left side just because I had got a couple good pedals in. So I was moving again and then I slipped right as she went by. And it's really classic. It's like one of those things from a cartoon where it's like, here the guy, is trying to get the attention, of some female completely out of his league, in this case because she was, a decade older or whatever. And she makes a complete fool of himself, and she has no idea. Like, I was on the ground, screaming, in pain, and I remember looking up just right as she went by, and she didn't even see me. She was just kind of listening to music or looking over this way or whatever. And I remember later thinking, well, I'm sure glad she didn't look down. That would have been the most embarrassing thing ever, because here I was wanting to, to impress her, and there I am screaming like a baby person on the ground. So anyway, that was memorable. I remember limping home, pushing my bike, and then, get mom taking care of me and taking all the rocks out, because it was a little gravel there.
Yeah.
And just being more, I think my pride was hurt more than anything else, because here I'd made a complete fool of myself in front of this girl I was trying to impress, and she still had no idea that I'd done that. So
I don't know. We could talk about all the times I hurt my pride doing dumb things, trying to show off. This would get way too long if we start talking about that kind of stuff.
Oh man. Well, there you go. Now everybody knows my most embarrassing time messing up as a child. And so, Tyler, I think that does it for things we remember. And as we reach a torn meniscus in the Tyler Martin High School athletics career of life, we're just thrilled that we remembered something. Kansas QB is a production of the Juhl Media Podcasting Network. And before we go, we want to thank Tracy of Tracy Lindley Voiceovers for the way to professional audio. And of course, I would like to thank my friend Sheridan for delivering a magnificent 60 seconds that also happened to be on topic. And of course, I'd also like to thank Tyler for clearing time in his busy schedule to talk about rough play.
Yeah, well, we're getting ready to head over to Mom and Dad's house, I think, to build a snowman for Nana and also to go sledding. So if this is a jinx and one of my kids gets hurt sledding, I'm blaming us.
Well, that's enough of that. For Tyler, I'm Steve, wishing you big fun in your small town.